So I'm really frustrated watching the news when it comes to Afghanistan because the conventional wisdom is very, very clearly we should stay there forever or we should just stay there longer and do a more orderly drawdown, which would have led to the same result the Taliban would have eventually taken over anyway. Well, here's a great example of this. Fox News is agitating for war, and now here you have CNN's Jake Tapper pushing Blinken on Afghanistan, but look at where the pressure comes from. Watch.
Secretary Blinken, as you know, the Taliban has closed in on Kabul. We're evacuating the embassy, burning documents. Biden increased troops deploying to the country twice in 3 days just to rescue those there. This is not just about the overall idea of leaving Afghanistan. This is about leaving hastily and ineptly. Secretary Blinken, how did President Biden get this so wrong?
Jake, first, let's put this in context. And as we've discussed before, we were in Afghanistan for one overriding purpose. To deal with the folks who attacked us on 9/11. That's why we went there 20 years ago. And over those 20 years, we brought bin Laden to justice. We vastly diminished the threat posed by al-Qaeda in Afghanistan to the United States to the point where it's not capable of conducting such an attack again from Afghanistan. We're going to keep in place in the region the capacity to see if any reemergence of a terrorist threat and to be able to deal with it. And on the terms that we went into Afghanistan in the first place, we've succeeded in achieving our objectives. When the president came to office, he had a decision to make. The previous administration negotiated an agreement with the Taliban that said that our forces, our remaining forces, only about 2,500, would be out of the country on May 1st. And the idea that the status quo could have been maintained by keeping our forces there, I think is simply wrong. The fact of the matter is, had the president decided to keep forces in Afghanistan beyond May 1st, attacks would have resumed on our forces. The Taliban had not been attacking our forces or NATO during the period from which the agreement was reached to May 1st. The offensive you're seeing across the country now to take these provincial capitals would have commenced, and we would have been back at war with the Taliban. And I'd probably be on this program today explaining why we were sending tens of thousands of American forces back into Afghanistan and back to war, something the American people simply don't support. That is the reality. That's the context that we're dealing with.
You cited the May 1st deadline negotiated by the Trump administration. You did blow through that deadline. We did have troops there after May 1st. But I think, again, the issue here is not just the withdrawal of U.S. forces, it's how they were withdrawn. There are reports from Afghanistan right now that they are forcing young girls into sexual slavery.
Jake, this is heart-wrenching stuff. I've met myself, as I know you have, with remarkable women who've been leaders in Afghanistan over the last 20 years, who've advanced the rights of women and girls with our very, very strong support. I met with a number of them just a few months ago, the last time I was in Kabul this spring. I think it's incumbent on the international community, including the United States, to do everything we can using every tool that we have, economic, diplomatic, political, to work to sustain their rights. And at the same time, as I said, to make sure that if the Taliban does not do that, if it's in charge, that it clearly faces the penalties for not upholding those rights. And we will do everything we can to make sure that's the case.
Everything except for use the U.S. military. President Biden is intent on avoiding a Saigon moment.
Saw that little shot at the end there. You'll do everything except send the U.S. military. Of course, the implication being like, well, you should do that. Now, again, infuriating. He brings up there are reports that the Taliban are forcing young girls into sexual slavery. And again, his solution, he implies, is we've got to send the U.S. troops in. Is he unaware that our allies were warlords with child sex slaves? Is he unaware of that? Is he unaware that when our military members blew the whistle on our allies who were warlords with child sex slaves, that they were discharged from the military? Is he aware of that? People were kicked out of the U.S. military for accurately pointing out our allies have child sex slaves. Everybody's against child sex slavery if they're just a bare minimum decent moral human being. The child sex slavery we can actively do something about are the people who are doing it who get our support and our money and our weapons. That's what happened. We gave people our support, our money, our weapons, and they did child sex slavery, And we could have just not given those people our support or money or weapons or taken them away. That's how you stop child sex slavery. You stop the child sex slavery that you're actively facilitating. But he's got nothing to say about that. What he does have something to say about is reports of the Taliban doing it. And okay, so the answer is send in the U.S. military. You'll do everything but send in the U.S. military. So do you see the way the game is rigged here? Do you see that the answer is war? I forgot the question. Do you see that now? Do you see how they're agitating for more war and making it seem like the common sense and the duh position? By the way, Blinken is right, and they better stick to this line because it's accurate. The whole reason we were told we're going into Afghanistan is to get bin Laden and get al-Qaeda. Well, mission accomplished. We got bin Laden and we got al-Qaeda, and we did it over a decade ago. Why are we still there? Why are we still there? And you heard Tapper say a number of times, he repeats this throughout the interview, I mean, I guess the issue is not whether or not to get out of Afghanistan. The issue is how you got out of Afghanistan. It's how you did it. Okay, genius. How should they have done it? I'll wait. You tell me what your solution is that would avoid what we're currently seeing. Go ahead. I'll wait. He doesn't have an answer. Well, the thing about the thing is you could have done it if you did it over the course of another year, and you did it in increments of 1,000 soldiers at a time, and you did it. Look at how fast the entire country folded. 300,000 Afghanistan soldiers were trained by the U.S. and armed, cost $90 billion, and they folded in a week. And actually, they folded instantaneously. It just took a week for the Taliban to march all across the country. So it doesn't matter. There is no orderly withdrawal that would have averted this. Afghanistan was going to become Talibanistan, whether it was now or 5 years ago or 10 years in the future or 35 years in the future. They were going to wait us out, and they were going to eventually take over. So there is no, if you're going to pull out, this is going to happen. Now, that gets us this uncomfortable place. If it doesn't matter when you pull out, if this is going to happen either way, well, what would the real neocon say? Effectively, we should just stay there forever. Some people are being open and honest about that. There's somebody on Twitter who said that. Lindsey Graham has talked about staying in Iraq forever. Some people will be honest and open about that fact. But if people are nitpicking what's happening now, ask them, what would you have done differently? And if you say we should stay, just be honest about it and admit you mean forever. Because this was going to happen no matter when we left. So just admit you mean forever. Because then at least we're having an honest conversation where our positions are truly repped. My position is we should stop wasting U.S. lives and U.S. money in Kabul and Kandahar, and we should rebuild our own infrastructure. We should totally get out of there and mind our own business. Your position could be, no, I think we should stay in Kabul and Kandahar and spend trillions of dollars and try to rebuild their thing and have it fall and collapse and prop up the empire. Okay. All right. Fine. That at least we're honest, at least we're open about it. But there's a lot of people trying to have it both ways. There's a lot of, no, I support the overarching goal of getting out, but just the way in which we got out is not the right way. Again, the only thing I would change is get out the U.S. I would have just got out way sooner. I would have never went. Or if I did go, I would have been in and out in a very strict time frame, and the goal would have been get bin Laden or whatever. So the only thing I would change is the interpreters and their families, like the people who are U.S. allies. There's a 14-step process for these people to get out of the country and go through immigration here. I would have streamlined that process, and everybody who helped us, who is not a warlord with a child sex slave, I would have brought him here. So that's the only big failure of the Biden administration. The rest of it, there's no avoiding it. And they're the ones who are ripping off the Band-Aid. He's the one who actually had the balls and the guts to follow through with what Obama only talked about and what Trump only talked about. So in a weird way, I've never been more supportive of Biden than in this moment right now, especially because all I see is the entire Republican establishment coming after him, the Democratic establishment either going after him or being quiet. The left flank is just being quiet. Cowards, weasels. And the entire media is going after him, even his nominal allies like CNN and MSNBC. So I hope he doubles down. I hope he triples down. But you never know, because he's going to have to address it sooner or later, and he could fold to the pressure. We'll have to wait and see. But, of course, you have CNN agitating from the right against Biden. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.